And together, we became more than the sum of our parts, a unique mix of cultures and beliefs. So yeah, I would say I left my mark on Humankind, and I'm just getting started. But that's just my story.
Tell me, what will yours be?
Hello everyone, my name is Frankie Ward and I'm absolutely delighted to be here getting to talk to the team at Amplitude Studios as part of Intel Gamer Days. Now the game we're obviously going to be talking about today is Humankind, which is already a massive hit. And for me, it's the one game that could convince me to get into 4X games, because for me, I never thought I was clever enough or had the patience enough. And then when I heard about this game at the PC Gaming Show back in 2019, I instantly thought I can get behind this, because you're literally creating the world from the Neanderthal era and going forward and combining around 60 cultures. And the whole thing blew my mind, and now I've got to play it. I am absolutely in love. So here to help me talk about why this game is now becoming soon quickly a love affair for members of the 4X loving community, I have William Dyce, the lead game designer, and Jean-Maxime Moris, who is the creative director of the game at Amplitude Studios. Hello guys, how are you?
Hello. I'm very good and fascinated at your accurate pronunciation of my name.
Oh, wow, I try. I wish I could speak good French, but unfortunately, from the lovely French people that I have met, they tell me I can't.
Well, so, that was really good.
Yes, well, that is high praise indeed.
Yeah.
Now, I have mentioned your titles there, guys, but it would be kind of cool if you could actually explain what that means, because game developers do so many different jobs. So, William, can we start with you? What exactly were your responsibilities on the game?
Yes, so what does lead game designer actually mean in practice? So essentially, we will be communicating with Roman and of course Jean-Max, the creative director, defining what the vision for the game is going to be. And once we've got that down to pat, the game design team will come out essentially with more specific rules and content that will allow us to basically make that vision become a reality. And then we sort of pitch and validate that with the creative direction, and once we're all happy with the rules, we then write the specifications and we follow up on the implementation of those specifications and check that everything is to specification. And when that's all done, we implement and we calibrate the game data, make sure everything is balanced. So lots of little things throughout development.
Especially in this type of game.
Yeah, lots of balancing.
I mean, I know that fans of the game will probably be familiar with you, William, from the beta, because you were front and center of that process and being the one to kind of introduce fans to that process. What about you, Jean-Maxime?
So I'm the creative director at Amplitude, and basically what I do is I make sure we come up with a sound and a clear vision for our games. And that vision is then communicated to the entire team, and that the objectives are clear at all times in terms of what it is, in terms of experience that we're trying to create, what we want the players to feel when they play the game. And so I have a slightly higher vantage point on things and work with designers, sound designers, the music composers, the art leads, narrative leads, and try to just make it all come together.
Well, Amplitude are known for the endless series of games, those 4X space operas that have such a hardcore following. So how did those games kind of inspire some of the gameplay elements in Humankind, given that they're completely different environments?
I'll maybe start off by saying, by maybe framing how, Humankind came to be. This was really the dream project of the founders of the studio. And they really, that was their dream to create a historical 4X, historical strategy game. But they also understood, that Rome wasn't built in a day, although it might be in Humankind. But so they decided to take it step by step, and basically endless space, And Legend and Endless Space 2 were stepping stones towards starting the development of Humankind by basically nailing down the core mechanics of 4X in space, then landing on a planet on Auriga in Endless Legend, and then experimenting with tile-based gameplay. And ultimately, all of that knowledge was combined to create Humankind.
And one of the big things that we wanted to take from Endless Legend as well was the battle system. Having these kind of simultaneous turns in real time, having that battle happen on the map, so that you can have your armies where the units are kind of stacked together, and yet you can have those units kind of unstack so you can control them tactically. So you kind of have the, you have your cake and you can eat it too.
That's something that I particularly enjoy, and I'm still kind of getting to grips with the best strategy for the battle system. But when I was streaming it the other day with my friend Zacriel, who's one of the Intel UK ambassadors, he was absolutely fascinated with the battle system. He's known for playing first-person shooter games, but he was really addicted to the turn-based action and how he could really tactically drive those battles. I'm wondering, is that something that maybe other 4X titles haven't got to grips with, or were there any other kind of gameplay elements you feel like other titles have missed in the past that you were able to bring to the fore in Humankind?
There was a lack of control in Endless Legend sometimes where, when a unit couldn't execute the order that you wanted to give them, they would act kind of by default, and often you wouldn't have the AI do the thing that you wanted them to. So we did a great big overhaul of the system, and we actually kind of prototyped it in this little web game that we all tested. We did like a tournament on the studio local area network, So we got that all figured out very early so that it would be perfect. And we had trophies. I think Arthur won a bottle of champagne. I was the final boss. It was great fun. There was my face in the game, on a unit. So you had to go and kill the king character. I guess this kind of micromanagement aspect, right? A lot of 4X games, you end up at the end of the game with a huge number of cities and a huge number of units to manage, and it takes ages to play your turn. We have that simultaneous turn-based structure that I talked about before, where everyone takes their turn at the same time, and that really helps multiplayer games move along more quickly. And then we have the battles, which instead of being kind of in a separate world where you engage the other player, it takes you to a separate arena, kind of like Pokemon, and then you come back when that's finished. They happen on the map, and that means that the other players aren't twiddling their thumbs waiting for something to happen. All of these things are trying to build something where you have fewer playing pieces that you're obliged to manage each turn.
Yeah, I think we're always, striving for depth over complexity. So I think we're we're happy with just feedback like you were saying. We have lots of people saying, well, I always found 4X is overwhelming, and this is actually fun. This is a lot of fun.
I mean, no word of a lie, gentlemen. I literally have my notes that I made from the tutorial videos here. Go for the high ground, follow the rivers when you're traveling. All of these things have helped me so much, because in the beta, I didn't necessarily know those things. And now I started playing multiplayer games with friends. It's really helping. It's amazing how easy and quick it is actually to get into this game, despite the crazy number of cultures on offer and how they impact your gameplay. Now, given that you have so many cultures, I'm just wondering if the team has sprinkled any Easter eggs in, especially, William, your face was on a soldier in battle. I don't know if we should be looking out for either of your faces in game.
My face is in the game. My face is in the game on an event, so you can you can find that.
I didn't actually know that. No, I was just in the prototype.
And there's more than a couple more like that, but I don't want to spoil them.
Look at the cities very closely and carefully. There's a whole bunch of stuff to discover in there. And obviously the narrator who speaks about what you've accomplished, there are a few little, I see what you did there, that are snuck in. So lots of little things to stumble across.
Now, how does Humankind evolved from this point, given obviously the game is released, it's out there in the world, and we've already talked about the crazy number of features on offer, and yet we still haven't scratched the surface with them, to be quite honest. So what's the plan?
Well, the plan first is to enjoy a few days of the release going extremely well.
Yeah.
And people playing an amazing number of games, there's a huge amount of satisfaction for us and for the team in that. Amplitude has a tradition of developing games with the community through our Games Together platform, and that drove, especially through our VIP system, that drove a fair amount of the design decisions over the course of the past 5 years, and this is not going to stop. So, Humankind, so I mean, it's infinite. The potential is infinite. There are so many things we could be doing, like, the most probably obvious one is at some point add more cultures, stuff like that. But right now, we're super happy with the finished product, and we're listening to feedback.
Yeah. I would love to ask you a bit about capturing the different personas. You obviously have a plethora of incredible actors. Can I ask you a little bit about what you were looking for in terms of your the different people that you chose to be in the game, because you go from Boudica to Edgar Allan Poe. It's quite the range of different characters.
Yeah, I mean, with the personas, we really, I mean, because what you said is really important, right? That, to have your avatar in the game, and that's what we want players to experience in the game. This is your avatar. So, I mean, it is a departure from more traditional 4X games that you're not playing, a famous historical figure, but this is you. This is you as a player. You get to customize your avatar. You get to create your own civilization born from the cultures that you wish to combine. And this is very important to us. And then when it came to personas, variety and meaning, I guess, were the two driving factors, and we just had fun.
I guess you want to be able to see that character, whether it's Frankie or Beowulf, and know immediately, okay, I know this person, I know how they're going to act. So that can be either Edgar Allan Poe, it can be again a character from fiction. Like Gilgamesh, or it can be, a content creator. It can be your best friend. So that's really the idea that it is up to you to populate the game world with those characters that you want to see in that world, and tell that story of your vision of humankind, with those people.
So let's also just talk about the fact that you have gone from the space operas of Endless that I mentioned in that series earlier, into working with things that have already happened, historical circumstances. Obviously, in the game, you can kind of direct civilization in the direction you want to take it. So it's not necessarily going to happen in the same way that civilization that's literally on the IRL happened. But was that limiting in any way, to know that you were having to work within historical parameters rather than making up factions and a universe of your own?
No, not at all, because the DNA of the game was really to have, these numerous authentic historical building blocks, but then we would give them to you as a player, and you would get to create whatever it was that you wanted to create. And, going back to the cultures, for instance, combining them. Some of those combinations never happened, some of them could never have happened, but the possibility and the fantasy of having those happen and to trigger those as a player, to me, is extremely fun, meaningful too, because there's a message behind that. And even, as developers, I know I learned a tremendous amount of stuff working on the project, and it's been just an amazing journey.
And truth is often stranger than fiction. You think, I'm not going to stumble across this kind of situation, but often, it It is absolutely mind-blowing the things that have actually happened in human history. So, and it is different. It's super interesting to have to kind of dig into the various cultures and say, okay, well, what can we create as an ability that will differentiate these different units? So the process is very different, but it's not any less rich.
I can't be in a call with you guys and not ask you about tips for players like myself who are new to 4X games. Do you guys have maybe 3 tips that you think everyone should know before they start playing Humankind?
I think I'm going to say, since diplomacy, I'm extremely proud of the diplomacy system that we have in the game. But I'll admit it's not the system that players new to the genre in particular have the most ease getting into. So what I would say is, in general terms, when you are dealing with diplomacy in Humankind, you really have to see it as like a game of poker, where you're there with the other side, and you've kind of got your cards, and you're kind of looking at each other, and you're saying, I raise you this, and they say, oh, I raise you this, and do you call their bluff or do you fold? That's really the kind of feel that we were going for. And I think that's probably the most important kind of element to have in mind, is this idea of kind of who's going to blink first. It's like a game of chicken.
Coming to the game as a new player, I think it's very important to understand that any 4X at some point is gonna feel or look a bit daunting. We can try very hard. There will always be more information than in your average game. It's very important to understand that it's okay not to get everything at once. There's always room for a comeback thanks to the fame system. And if you don't win your first game, no big deal, enjoy the journey. 4Xs are games where, a lot of the fantasy happens in the players' heads, because you're leading those empires and you feel this connection between your cities, and you build up your strategy in your brain. Enjoy that and really have fun. There are a few things that will help you. I know one thing that I used to find a bit hard to grasp was the whole population management in the game. So we have what we call assignment policies in the game. So you can basically choose, city growth, and your city is going to focus on food and industry, and you won't have to manually assign every new population to those slots. You don't need to be min-maxing, as we say, to have fun.
I have to say, I've just started looking at population management. It's such a small change, but it is a game changer. And so that's definitely one of the joys of the game, is every playthrough you're discovering different mechanics. So for me, that's absolutely solid advice. I've got to ask you guys one more thing before we let you go, which is the second patch is coming up very soon. So tell me what we can expect from that, and also if you've got an idea of when it's going to be coming out.
What are the main things that we've been focusing on post-release in terms of balancing has been kind of looking at pollution. So you don't want pollution to cause the game to end too quickly, but at the same time, if you raise those thresholds too high, then it's never going to be a big, impactful thing in the game. So that's very important to get that right, and still tweaking that. Influence, fiddling around a little bit with the influence cost of civics. Essentially, there are times often in the mid to late game where experienced players will end up with this pool of influence, especially on cramped maps that they don't really know what to do with. So we're looking at kind of the influence costs in particular to try and make sure that it's always an interesting decision. So various little things like that. I believe the expansionist affinity, from memory, I fiddled around with it. I think that may make it into patch 2. Because we couldn't steal territory during war, and that's something that we want to change to make them a little bit stronger. So lots of little balancing changes, lots of content changes, values that have been tweaked, or even effects that have been completely changed, and also bug fixes, lots of stuff, performance fixes, all kinds of cool things.
One of the really exciting things for the community is, as part of Intel Gamer Days, Amplitude are running a map making competition. So you can make a map in-game, which I didn't even know you could do, for the next week or so in order to win a crazy Humankind themed Intel PC. Can you tell me a bit more about that, guys?
Yeah, so in case you didn't catch it, we actually did an Amplitude stream where Rogan and I talk everyone through, you know, how to make a map of Australia, because I'm from Australia. So we had fun putting that together and making fun of the other regions of Australia. And essentially, yeah, you've got another week or so. The contest has already started, but there's still plenty of time. And the idea is, you know, the best map will win this absolutely insanely powerful piece of this lovely illustration on the front. And yeah, look, I'm really looking forward to seeing what you put together. The tools are pretty powerful, really, really beautiful looking. You know, you're in the game engine, you know, with the waves and the ocean and the cliffs and everything, and they're fun to use. So yeah, really looking forward to seeing what the community comes up with. We're always blown away by the creativity of our community. So yeah.
Well, a massive thank you to William, Dyce and Jean-Maxime Moris for joining me today to talk all about Humankind. If you haven't played it yet, do. And also, of course, check out deals from Intel Gamer Days. If you buy certain bundles, you will actually get Humankind software bundle with your deal. So, I mean, if that's not a reason to go out and explore the offers, I don't know what is. Well, William and Jean-Maxime, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you, and congratulations on the epic success of Humankind so far. It sounds like we're going to be playing it for years to come, but I do hope you still get to have a holiday sometime soon.
Thank you so much for today. Thank you to all the players. This is incredible. We'll continue to work extra hard, to better the experience. Yeah.
It's been absolutely heartwarming, really, to be hearing all your love. That the outpouring of love for the game has been just absolutely astounding. So really, so many people, streaming and talking about it and so on. Yeah, it's been absolutely great. So look, this has been 5 years for some of us. We've really put our blood, sweat and tears, our hearts into this project. So to see people playing it and enjoying it is just, it is very moving. Yeah, thank you, really, sincerely thank you.